Fun fact about flies, they're really good pollinators. And we have some really surprising pollinators within the flies. So all of you probably love a bit of chocolate. I mean, who doesn't? It's wonderful stuff, and if you're feeling depressed or upset, chocolate's the best thing on the planet. But you wouldn't have chocolate if it wasn't for tiny, tiny, tiny flies. And these flies, we call them no-see-ums because you can't see them. And they are biting midges. So the next time you're being bitten by these tiny flies and you whinge and someone gives you a bar of chocolate and say, don't worry, it's okay, you have to thank those midges for making sure you get that chocolate. Hi, my name is Dr. Erica McAllister and I'm a curator at the Natural History Museum in London. And I specifically curate or study and research flies and fleas. Why flies and fleas? Well, these tiny little creatures are very important to the workings of our entire planet. Now, some of you may realise that I'm actually not at the Natural History Museum. In fact, I'm at home in my little study, but I have the tools in front of me for what I need to do my work. So this is a microscope. Some of you know this already, because I have to look at very tiny features on those flies. So for example, this is a fly's head. Yeah, 3D printed fly's head, which is great. And it shows you some of the features that I will have to look at under the microscope. I have to look at the eyes, I have to look at the antennae, I have to look at the mouth parts. And these help tell me, A, what species it is, i.e. how does it differ from another one, but it also gives me little hints and tips about their behaviour, what they feed on, what they do, etc. And so in front of me, I have a lovely box of flies. So I collected these on some recent field work. So across the UK, I go out and I identify these flies and I study them. Some might be new to science. And then I come home, either in my lab at work or my lab here, and I'll use the microscope to be able to identify them. So how do these tiny little insects, these tiny little creatures, can you see it, make such a difference? Well, not only are they good pollinators, but they do everything. They get their little feet, their tarsi, into everything. So they recycle our waste. They recycle the decomposing trees. They attack some of our pests. They defend our crops. They do all sorts of things. They're in the waters. They're up in the air. They're everywhere. And they're making sure that our planet functions in a way that we can survive on it. Flies are a type of insect, and as such they have a head, the main part of their body, which is called their thorax, and they end with an abdomen. And it is the head that contains a lot of the sensory equipment. It contains the eyes for seeing and antennae for smelling and mouth parts for eating. The middle bit, the thorax, that contains the features for locomotion, how it can walk, how it can fly. And in their bum, they have all the necessary equipment for digestion and reproduction and all of those. And insects dominate the planet. We've described over 1 million species so far. One of the lovely things about flies is they have a really remarkable life cycle. So they start off, in most cases, in an egg. Not all of them do that. And then they become this larvae. Now the larvae is a great stage. I know this one looks like bird feces, but actually it's the larvae of a hoverfly, my favourite little hoverfly, called the marmalade hoverfly. And this is a vicious predator. Doesn't really look like it, but it is, and it goes around eating hundreds and hundreds of aphids. And it has this disguise to stop, obviously, birds and other creatures from eating it. Now, the larval stage is all about eating, and they maybe spend months, it depends on what one they are, feeding and feeding. They then undergo this remarkable change where they nearly reorganise most of their body into their adult form. And their adults are these beautiful creatures. These adults can travel many hundreds of miles to get to where they want to be. And in so they pollinate as they go. and they defecate and they do all these brilliant things, adding nutrients, spreading pollen, helping conservation, everything. Marvellous creatures. And why should we care about these tiny little insects? Well, actually, these insects dominate our planet. In the UK alone, there are more species of fly than there are mammals on the whole of the planet. We have over 7,000 described species of fly in the UK, from your big hoverflies to your tiny midges that live in the trees, that live in the soil, and they do all sorts of fantastic things. And so we need to look after them. We need to make sure that there's enough of an environment for them to live in, for them to carry on pollinating, cleaning, getting rid of the waste, everything, all these tiny, everyday little things that these little creatures do that is so important. And so my question to you is, how do you think the smallest animals, these little flies, make the biggest difference? The great thing, hopefully at the end of this, you will have a lovely little research project where you would have studied your chosen species of fly. So how are you going to present this? Little videos are great to tell us and show us exactly what is going on with these tiny little creatures. You can show us your work under the microscope. You can show the flies. You can do all of these things. Think about how scientists describe their work. We write papers. You can write your own tiny little scientific paper to tell us all about these flies. And when you finish, don't forget to share with the great science share for schools, so everybody to see how wonderful your projects have been.